welcome. My name is Talia Kingston. I'm WAM's Associate Artistic Director, and for a visual description, I'm a white, middle-aged woman wearing a pale blue V-neck sweater and sitting in front of a yellow wall, and I've just realised my ukulele behind me. I'm honoured today to introduce all of you, our audiences, to the powerhouse that is writer, actor, director, Indigenous theorist Kim Sencliffe Harvey, who wrote the play Kamloopa, an Indigenous matriarch story that we're honoured to be presenting at WAM. So hi, Kim.
Hi, Shanika. My name's Kim Sencliffe Harvey. I am a 35-year-old Indigenous femme, and I'm wearing an orange toque, a gray hoodie, a blue jacket, and I'm sitting in my bedroom, which is kind of dark in the background, so you can't see if it's messy or dirty.
Kim, 2021's been a busy year for you. Amongst other things, you've completed a master's degree in creative writing. Congratulations. And are about to begin a PhD in law. You've worked on, let me get this right, hopefully 2 TV series.
I'm just creating them now, yeah.
And a book of, a creative writing book, a book of poetry, is it?
Yes, also in the midst of finishing up that first draft.
Ooh. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Kamloopa just won Canada's prestigious Governor General's Award for Drama, making you the first Indigenous writer to be honoured in this way. So congratulations on everything. Is there anything you want to add to that? Is there anything you want to
No, just to clarify, the first Indigenous woman to win that award. Yeah, no, that sounds good. I sound busy, don't I?
You do sound busy, so thank you for taking the time to talk to us. I'm wondering how Kamloopa fits into this body of work for you.
Kamloopa's my baby. It's my first child. Kamloopa is, to me, the opening the portal into a world of creative practice that allows me to feel sovereign, that allows me to feel joy, that allows me to hold an artistic leadership position around how Indigenous people are portrayed in the kind of sector of TV, film, storytelling, bookmaking. Kamloopa was something I needed to write because there was such an absence of representation of these types of Indigenous women and femmes in the community. And I wanted to write something that talked about the diaspora of Makaya and Kalana with regards to cultural reclamation, with regards to intergenerational trauma, with regards to their own sovereignty around how they engage with culture that I just wasn't seeing really anywhere in storytelling. And I also wanted to make people laugh. I wanted people to engage with all of that in a really fun way.
So let's talk a bit about that, about the comedy in it and why you're drawn to comedy as a form.
Yeah, I think comedy is the only way to engage people with any vulnerability. I think if you want to engage with the hearts and spirits of other people, you have to put your heart and spirit out there. And I say shaming and blaming people only makes them armor up. It only makes them put more bricks in front of their hearts and spirit. It only makes them get more defensive around protecting their vulnerable self. And with every joke, they start to remove the armor. With every laughter, they start to open up their heart. And so in Kamloopa, we spend a lot of time letting people feel comfortable to live in this world, to laugh their way into courage, so that by the time they get to the end, their hearts are open and their spirits are open. And that's where true transformation and that kind of cultural alchemy starts to happen, because we spent the first large part of the play allowing them to feel comfortable in a space in a world that is often not, they're not often made a lot of invitations to enter into it that way. So comedy is definitely a tool and a tactic structurally to make people feel like they can meaningfully, authentically engage to really transform.
That's great. Thank you. I totally agree. And it's one of the things that drew Kristen and I to the play to begin with. Is like, this is funny. This is really, even though we don't have backgrounds in this world, we're connecting to these characters in a meaningful way when we laugh along with them. I wanted to ask a little bit about your initial inspiration for Kamloopa, bearing in mind that some people who watch this won't have seen it yet, but what are some of the seeds and the kind of what that drew you to these sisters and to this story?
Makaya and Kalana are, I believe, 2 very real voices within all of us around wanting to be who we are, around needing to be our true, fullest, and most authentic selves. And then that other very real voice in our head that goes, don't do it. People are going to make fun of you. You're not worthy. You don't have the education. You don't have the experience. You don't have the authority. And that kind of duality that either obstructs or propels us into becoming our true selves. And that was a voice that lived within me about being a displaced Indigenous femme, not having access to culture, not having access to my territories, being moved because of many aspects of colonization and being placed and positioned away from it. And I didn't feel like people were talking about that. We have on reserve or on tribal conversations about the important lived experiences of those people, but very rare. And in Canada, we have 70% of people live off of their nations, off of their reserve. Not a lot of stories talking about that real experience. And for me, if we don't talk about that, we put those community members at risk because we don't know who they are. I had many Indigenous people say, wow, that's either me or I didn't know that was an experience that was happening within my community. Displacement and dispossession from culture is very real and very obstructive to Indigenous peoples being at peace, to feeling a part of community. And I also say I wanted to write characters that were a bit braver than me. There's some audacious bunch in there. Micaiah is relentless with regards to her courage. And that was a dramatization of that yes voice, that courageous voice that can be depleted sometimes. But that when I wanted Micaiah to be a figure in the community of Indigenous storytelling that people go, what would Micaiah do in this moment? Micaiah would put the tuna cans on the dress. Micaiah would dress up like a colonial frontier friend. Micaiah would get in the car and go to the powwow to say, I deserve to belong, I deserve to participate, and I deserve to be a part of my community. And I think as a kid, I wish I had a character like Micaiah to look up to say, I deserve to live as an Indigenous person for all of the fallibility, for all of the beauty, and for all of the necessity of how hard my ancestors worked for me to be here.
We're going to be presenting Kamloops in Lennox, Massachusetts, which is the ancestral homeland of the Mohican peoples, who've been displaced since then, but who we're very much connecting with over this production, as well as other neighboring northeastern tribal nations. But that means that we're in a different country, we're on different ancestral lands, we're with different people, and we're at a different time. I mean, a ton has happened, the pandemic and other things have happened since you premiered Kamloops in Canada. So I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about how this play might resonate with our current time and with this new audience on the other side of the continent.
I think Kamloops, as much as it is about two Indigenous sisters reclaiming their culture, I think it's a story about all of us needing the courage to be who we are. And I think that anybody can relate to that story. I think that we're all on the greatest journeys of our lives of trying to be our greatest, best, most earnest selves that we can. Micaiah just happens to be an invitation, a conduit, an opening into, I think, a journey that every person can relate to, of wanting to engage in ourselves with our families and communities in more meaningful ways. But the complications deter us. And I think with the pandemic, with the Black Lives Matters movement, with the Black Rebellion, with all the leadership and political strife that's happening, I don't think there is a more urgent time to be spending on ourselves to figure out how we can be courageous and how we can be ourselves and not respond to really traumatic environments. Indigenous peoples have been doing this for hundreds of years. We have been responding to trauma and colonization and the oppression of us for centuries. It's not new to us. What I think other people can learn is the resiliency and the endurance required to persevere, required to not let things like our generosity and respect go. Going through this kind of tumultuous territory and nature of our society that should be expected. You know, there are ebbs and flows in the way that the Homo sapien species has existed. And we might be on a bit of an ebb and less of a flow right now. But I think it's important to look at people like Kalan and Micaiah who don't have much, who live in a basement suite, who are students, who kind of work jobs, who don't have connections, who are under very chaotic circumstances, and they don't let their values go. They don't let the fear of being wrong win. They don't let the fear of not being themselves take over their lives. And I think we need them right now. I think we need more Kalanas and Makayas in our lives to say, yes, life is hard. Yes, we've been handed a difficult deal. Yes, the world is relentlessly coming at us, but that doesn't mean we don't deserve to be happy, joyful, and living in a certain level of peace.
Wow. That's a great note to end on. But before we go, I'd love to ask for people out there who are just getting introduced to you, what else are you working on? How can they find more of your stuff?
That's a great question, and thank you so much. The WHAM fam has been so great about supporting all my work and amplification, and I'm just so grateful that y'all doing the US premiere and people can see it and have a laugh. I'd say the best bet is either with my website, kimsanclubharvey.com, and you can subscribe to updates to the blog. You can get my podcast there. And then also social media. I'm active social media. So if you want to follow me on Twitter at Kim Sanclub, at Kim Sanclub on Instagram as well. I love hearing your experiences of the play. I might not be able to get back to all of you immediately, but it really touches, I'd say, if there was ever a moment that COVID and this pandemic brought to us, it's the necessity of our art and artists. It's the necessity of how stories, whether it be on Netflix, in visual shows that we see online, in books, in music, how much art is a necessity within our lives. So I offer, reach out to those artists that have helped you get through this really difficult time. Send them a message, and it can mean a world to a lot of people when we hear what the piece means to you. And so find that artist. Come chat with me in my DMs, engage with the creative team and let them know how much it meant to you. I think it's really important. I don't want to give it away, but there's a moment at the end where they really see each other and they bear witness to the triumphs and the tribulations of what it took to get to the Kamloopa powwow. And I think if nothing else, Kamloopa is an opportunity to extend that moment in our real lives to say, I bear witness to all the work. I bear witness to how challenging this is. And I'm going to give you a butt slap and a high five and a hello and a good laugh on your road to your difficult life and journey to say, we got this. We got this.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. For those that are watching, don't forget to purchase your tickets for WHAM Theatre's US premiere production of Kamloopa, live in Lenox, October the 7th to the 24th, and then streaming across the US on November the 1st to the 7th at whamtheatre.com. Thank you again, Kim, and we will see you soon.
Bye.
Yeah.